So what happened today in the upper house of Parliament there?
Yeah, so there was I think many more people watching the Legislative Council feed than usually happens in Tasmania today. So essentially councillors were debating an order to build that Macquarie Point stadium. Going into it, we knew that for it to be successful, for that vote to pass, it needs 8 people to support it. There were 5 definites in Labor and the Liberals, but there were a number of crossbenchers who hadn't yet said exactly how they were going to vote. They'd kept their cards pretty close to their chest. Right before debate actually started, independent Beck Thomas, she came out and said that she would be supporting the stadium, and that was with some conditions that she'd agreed upon with the government, including a Tasmanian taxpayer spending cap at $875 million, so the government can't put more money towards it than that before they have to request support from the AFL or Cricket Tasmania, other bodies, private companies. So that moved it forwards again, and then over the course of this afternoon we've heard legislative councillors actually debate the order and talk about where they stand, and ultimately we have had 2 more independents say, yes, I support this stadium, which brings them up to that number of 8. So while the official vote hasn't happened yet, all the MLCs get to engage in this debate first, so that will likely continue into the evening. We know that it has the numbers for that vote to pass, which is a huge step forward for the Tassie team and for that stadium to be constructed in Hobart.
And I think we can hear now a bit of the action in Parliament.
But how do you look a young, aspirational child in the eyes and say, we had a chance to do something great today. We had a chance to build our economy, to build our state, and to create the Tassie Devils whose roar will be heard across the nation. Mr President, I will be supporting this order and the future of our state.
And so, Meg, tell us a bit more about this stadium to put it in context for a national audience, for people who might not have heard much about it. For example, how much it's costing, who's going to stump up the money for it, and what happens next.
Yeah, so it's been a really divisive project in Tasmania, this proposal for the stadium. At the last estimate, it was going to cost $1.13 billion. So that is obviously a very significant amount of money for a pretty small state. It's one of the requirements for Tasmania to enter the AFL League, to get our own national team, which is something that Tasmanians have been calling for decades. And in recent years, once we found out that included a stadium, there's been a real divide in the community about if people think that's worth it, or if Tasmania really needs a stadium in order to get a team, which the AFL has said repeatedly they do. And so we've had rallies both for and against in recent weeks and over in recent years. MPs who have been debating this today have all taken time to say just how hard it's been to make a decision. I mean, you could hear from that grab a little bit there. It's a pretty serious decision that people have had to weigh up the opinions of their constituents, and so they've had a lot of personal feedback from people saying, I really care about this project because of this, or I really don't want to see this happen because of this. Tasmania's financial situation is not great at the moment, so that cost has been a really significant point of contention. That's not just going to be paid by the Tasmanian government. There's also federal investment there. The AFL is putting in some money as well, and the government says that a lot of it will come from private businesses as well once that stadium starts to be constructed and a team's there and hospitality and all those things. But yeah, it's certainly been a long time coming for us to reach this point, and there's been a real mix of views. So to see those MPs, the majority of MPs now say, yes, we support this stadium, is a pretty significant milestone. Yeah,
and so when is the final vote expected, and what's the capacity of the stadium expected to be?
So it'll be a 23,000-seat roofed stadium on Hobart's waterfront over at Macquarie Point. So debate for the actual vote will continue into this evening. As I said, all MLCs get to have a say, and we've only heard from about half of them or so far. So that'll keep going into the evening, but we're not expecting the official vote to actually happen until potentially tomorrow morning.
Okay, Meg Whitfield there in Hobart.